Bill Fuchs, Sure Shot Tactical, Scottsdale, Arizona. Welcome to our shootout of 11 suppressors. We're going to be using them on 300 Blackout subsonic ammunition, several different rifle platforms. Follow along and enjoy. I know how it is. Everybody wants to know who the winner is. Here you go. That's it. The CGS Hyperion and the Aero Precision Lahar 30. Two winners for two different reasons. But before you jump to the conclusion, that's what you ought to buy. See our methodology and what we were trying to solve. These are the client's requirements for why we took on this project. We wanted to find the quietest suppressor for use on a 300 Blackout SBR, most likely a SIG rattler. Size was not a concern, cost was not a concern, and the main objective was it needed to be so quiet that if discharged indoors, it would not damage hearing. So we rounded up all the suppressors in our possession capable of handling 300 Blackout. This included long-range precision suppressors, hard-use suppressors, and even a few 9mm suppressors. Here's the lineup of 11 different suppressors, largest to smallest, left to right. This was just days after the new ATF pistol brace ban went into effect, and that's why you see many of the firearms are missing their braces. Going in a circular motion, we have a SIG rattler, a Noveske Diplomat, APC 300 SBR, a Noveske Space Invader, which was not used in the testing but was put into this photo for some unknown reason, and also another APC 300. And there's the ammo that we used, Ammo Inc. Stealth 220 grain. Here's the shooting range where we conducted our test. We wanted an enclosed structure, something that would somewhat replicate a dwelling to be able to meet the client's expectations. Here's the 11 suppressor lineup. You can see how we each rated them. I'm Bill. Steve is the person who was doing a lot of the shooting. The scale is from 1 to 5, 1 being it's loud, 5 being it's quiet. We worked our way through the list from top to bottom, just as you see it here, but we jumped around a lot. We went back and forth saying, hold on, is that the way it really sounded? Let's try it again. And after a lot of crossing out and editing, this is what we ended up with. Why are some of these suppressors even on the list? As mentioned earlier, it's just simply this is the available inventory of suppressors that are 300 Blackout compatible, and that's why they made it. And there's a few surprises on there. There's some 9mm suppressors that perform better than we expected them to. There's also some suppressors that I really expected to perform really well. As an example, the 762 SDN6, which I've shot on 6.5 Creedmoor and is super quiet, yet for 300 Blackout wasn't. Only one of the 11 received a 5 rating, so we set it aside. We knew what we had, and we moved on to the next best. There were 4 suppressors that received a 4 rating. So we paired up the 4, and this is the way we lined them up. KGM R30XL versus the Dead Air Wolfman Long, Energetic Arm Sonus versus the Aero Precision Lahar 30. Now, we went back and forth. This is the initial pairing, but we also then shot the Wolfman versus the Sonus and the Lahar 30 versus the R30XL. But based upon the initial pairing, these are the winners and losers for each. So remember back at the beginning, I stated that the winners were the CGS Hyperion and the Lahar 30. And at this point, you should be perplexed, wondering if the Lahar lost the contest against the R30XL, why am I proclaiming it the winner? And the answer to that is pretty easy. In February of this year, 2023, KGM announced that they would cease commercial sales and instead focus on sales to law enforcement, military contracts, and manufacturing for other companies. That was a huge disappointment to me. I'm probably one of their biggest fanboys. I'm one of their dealers, and I'm fortunate enough to have some of their products of my own, but going forward, the consumer will not be able to purchase their products, at least unless they get back around to the commercial market. So here's our rating of the 3 suppressors that made the top picks. So we have the CGS Hyperion. Can't say enough about it. Really a great suppressor. But for a typical consumer looking for a suppressor for a short barrel rifle, subsonic 300 Blackout, most are going to consider this suppressor absurdly large. It is a very large suppressor, and that is why it works for our client's needs. He wants a one-shot, quiet type suppressor. He's not concerned about hard use. But for the typical consumer, they want to go to the range. They want to be able to do a mag dump. They don't want to worry about damaging the suppressor. They also don't want something that is so large that it protrudes off the front of the gun of equal length to the barrel. The same comments about size could be said for the R30XL. And given the choice between the 2 suppressors, if you can find an R30XL, I would say jump on it over the Hyperion. I'm not a huge fan of the taper mount of the Hyperion. The amount of threads that contact the suppressor, in my estimation, is minimal. However, it is stated that it's acceptable. Certainly, if you have a weapon with a tapered barrel, it is a go-to solution. Otherwise, I would say the R30XL, if you can find one. And this brings us to the Aero Precision R30. So a little backstory on this. One of my clients purchased one for an AR-15, and we shot it, being a 30 caliber can on a 5.56 round. Frankly, I didn't have huge expectations for it, and we were both blown away. It sounds really, really good on an AR-15. So now for this testing, we put in a direct thread mount for 5/8-24 to make it compatible with 300 Blackout, and we do our test. And having prior to this one tested the Dead Air Sandman, which both Steve and I did not give a very good rating. We didn't really have a high expectation for the Lahar. We kind of thought we were out of the realm of good sounding suppressors, that only the big cans sounded the best. And we shoot the Lahar and we both look at each other just flabbergasted, like, damn, that sounded great. So when you consider that the Lahar is a really nice compact package, it's ideal for a short barrel rifle or a 300 Blackout subsonic application, and it sounds as good as it is. Really, that's the winner all the way around for best in class, that it's doing everything that most people would want. Now, our client's one unique application about, he doesn't care how big it is. That's not a typical request from the buyers that I've worked with. They're looking at trying to balance maneuverability with sound, with gas reduction, a lot of different factors. So again, the Lahar 30, that's the pick. So what did we learn from all this? Well, Steve and I are going to do the following. I am going to remove my Sandman K. There's no sense in installing the Sandman S. I was always after a nice short package, and the Sandman S would only add weight and length. So instead, I'm going to install the Energetic Armament Sonus, which performed really well. And if I ever get in the market to buy another suppressor, I'm definitely going to get a Lahar 30 and put it on this gun instead. What's Steve going to do? Well, Steve is that customer that wanted the super quiet suppressor of any size. A 55-gallon drum suppressor would have satisfied him. And he's going to put it on his SIG Rattler. He already owns a Hyperion for a long-range precision rifle, so we're going to get him another Hyperion. So he'll be a 2 Hyperion household. And if he ever runs out of ammo, he's got a club at the end of his Rattler.
That sounded really good, that second one.
Here's the Hyperion and the Art-30XL, and the reason the stock is not deployed is so that from the shooter's perception, the action of the gun is always the same distance. CGS Hyperion on the SIG Rattler. SIG Rattler with the Aero Precision Lahar 30.